So if you think that you have done everything possible to grow your financial planning business, well, think again. Today, we're exposing some strategies that I think most people may know about, but they don't use them. And I can almost guarantee you, well, I want to say I will guarantee you, but let me just put a caveat, almost guarantee you, because there's a bit of elements there that I can't control, that these will definitely grow your financial planning business and any other professional business that you may be in, exponentially. So today we're going to uncover these secrets and help you take your practice to new heights and new levels and to places that you never thought possible. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hey, this is a fantastic Friday morning. Lots of rain last night. I don't know about you, where you are in the world, but last night here in Joburg, we had quite a bit of rain, which is weird for this time of the year, but hey, we take what we can get. I think that should be our motto. And looking forward to today's show. Today, we're all talking about some strategies and some building blocks and things that you must have in place and things that you should be thinking about all the time when you are building your financial planning practice, or as I said, even any other professional practice, from that point of view. So we're going to get into those today, and I'm going to share some very insightful thoughts and ideas and opinions maybe along the way that you will find of great value. But then today we have Lelani back fresh from the United States. So she's going to do today's current affairs. That's brought to you by the Financial Planning Institute. And then I have Norma, and Norma is going to talk about the art of turning setbacks into comebacks. Now, how awesome is that? Then this morning, we have Amity Investment Solutions, who's sponsoring the month of May again. So thank you very much to Marius, Ian, and Tanya and the team over there. So thank you very much for being a part of this and helping keep us on the airways, if you will. So we're very excited to have you back. And this morning, Tanya is here, and she's in her segment, Value-Driven Advice. She's going to sort of answer the question or talk around the question like, reducing uncertainty, is that possible? So looking forward to that segment as well. A couple of announcements, not many this morning, and then I'm going to get into today's featured topic, and I've got one or two other announcements. Now, if you want to win coffee at the end of today's show, #coffee. So that's it, #coffee, and we will do a lucky draw at the end, and I will share it later on screen as well. But any comments, just the word #coffee or add #coffee to all of your comments, and we will automatically enter you into that amazing draw. But what is a morning if we don't say good morning to our friends? If you're watching this recording and you got this far, thank you very much. We really, really appreciate it. I see loads of comments already. So this morning, Mr. Terence, I hope you're doing this from your pool. I see you are embracing the cold things. I've got a few crazy friends like that. Then we've got Mark. Good morning, Mark. Hope you're doing well. And Mark can never get into a cold pool because in Natal, the water is always warm. So that's not going to work. But Ferdi, good morning. Nice to see you. I said good morning there to some of the guys. Johan Potgieter, goeiemorgen. Nice to meet you. To see Heloise, good morning. We've got Charmaine. Good morning. Nice to see you. Kobus, good morning. Warm welcome. A wonderful day in paradise. Yes, we've got Frank. Good morning, Frank. Awesome to see you. It was been a while. I missed you. Like it's clear when you're not here. So welcome back. Salome, good morning. Goeiemorgen, Mr. Mark Lane, who recently had a birthday. So Mark, I did send you a message and you did respond. So I know you got it. But warm welcome. Nice to see you here. Renee, good morning. Yeah, you see, here's my other crazy friend. You can see there, that's coming from the pool. So good morning, Vainant. We've got Tina's good morning. Frank, there we go. All the #coffees. Let me see if I missed anyone. So good morning, Karen, Mary. We've got Russell, Daryl, also in KZN. So no cold showers and things there. And good morning to Yaku, and lastly to Francis from Benoni. So good morning, ladies and gents. Let's get this amazing show on the road. Thank you so much for joining us live. It means the world to us. And if you're watching the recording as well, thank you so much. Lilani, let's hear what the latest news is.
Yes, good morning, Francois and team. It's wonderful to see you. As you can see, I'm in the middle of load shedding. This is something that we definitely did not have in the US, and people do not understand what load shedding actually means. So it's quite interesting to explain to them every time what it means. But seeing that it's Friday, let's talk about braai. So what can I possibly share with you in the news about braai? So let's talk about the fact that green peppers and tomatoes are driving up South Africa's braai index. So the price of food we all know has increased quite a bit, but green peppers and tomatoes seems to have increased by about 16%, followed by onions at 11% and tomatoes 8%. So green peppers is 16%, onions 11%, and tomatoes 8%. On top of this, our central bank, which is the South African Reserve Bank, expects food inflation to average at about 9.9% this year. This is as a direct result of the higher fuel prices, as we've seen, and the continued load shedding. This has led to the shelf life of foods like tomatoes decreasing as it needs refrigeration to stay fresh, go figure. We will continue to see increases in food prices, as we've seen, for instance, Pick n Pay's load shedding bill has shot up to about 500 million this year. It's not a great picture at all, Francois. Then the experts welcome the alignment of the tax clearance approvals in the new SARS process, as it removes uncertainty, apparently. We saw about a week ago, on the 24th of April, that SARS introduced a new tax compliance status application form that consolidates the foreign investment allowance and immigration applications into the approval international transfer application. Now, Hugo van Zyl, we all know him. Hugo says that professionals were informed October last year that SARS was aligning its processes with legislative changes that were announced in 2020 already. So these changes from SARS's side on the system should therefore not be seen as a surprise or as the introduction of a more restrictive exchange control policy. FPI will be running a webinar with tax consulting South Africa's very own Jerry Botha, also a proud certified financial planner, member of the FPI, in the next week to unpack this ruling from SARS in more detail. Look out for an email from events@FPI or Adele@FPI, because that email will contain the registration link. But if you've missed that email, please note that the event will appear on our brand new website under the event tab. As usual, this is a complimentary webinar to FPI professional members. For non-members, this webinar is at a minimal cost of 250 Rand to you. Then something also to be on the lookout for. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but the Reserve Bank has officially launched South Africa's latest print and mint of new banknotes and coins. The new coins and banknotes are upgraded with enhanced security features and new designs, celebrating South Africa's heritage. They added the South African flag, which looks really great, the preamble to our constitution in micro lettering, and the Big Five depicted as a family. So this is not the Big Five together in a family portrait. It's where the rhino has a calf and the leopard has a cup and so on. It really looks quite nice. And you'll see that the 5 Rand mint, the coin, is actually now a beautiful whale with a baby. Then something for the smokers. A new smoking tax will be hitting South Africa next month as from the 1st of June 2023. Nicotine substitute solutions, including vaping products, will be included in the tax net with a flat excise duty rate of 2.90 Rand per milliliter. Excise duty on vaping tobacco products has been in the pipeline for some time. SARS confirmed that the forms which govern the tobacco products has already been amended to account for vaping products. Then remember, the 31st of May is around the corner. So what date is that? That's the last date for you to comply with either your regulatory CPD hours or FPI CPD hours. If you are still short of CPD hours, remember you can still register for the FPI's annual refresher and the Estates and Trust event if you've missed it. Just go onto our website and register for the event, so that you will find again under the events tab. Then in closing, Francois, something about South Africa. Whenever I go to the US or I go to some of the international affiliates, it's always interesting to share something very unique to our country. So I don't know if you've known this, but South Africa is the largest producer of macadamia nuts. And there are more than 2,000 shipwrecks in and around off the South African coast. Go figure. On that note, Francois, may you have a fantastic and blessed weekend, and your listeners as well. Over to you in the studio.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Lalani. And next up, we have Norma. And as I said, Norma is going to look at how we turn setbacks into comebacks. So excited for this one. I'm always excited for all these segments because you never know. And I just want to, before I go to Norma, just say, Lalani, yes, a lot of those things are definitely have been in the works for a long time, and people forget. Their memories are very short. And then these things come along and we go like, where did that come from? And it happened so silently overnight. No, it didn't. There was a lot of things that there was a hype about. Then it died down as they did the work. And now suddenly, yes, it's coming to the fore, but none of this stuff is new news. So, our minds are playing tricks on us sometimes. But it is great. And I'll also talk a little bit more about that later. So with that, Norma, here we go.
Good morning. I have a great topic again for you today. It is the art of turning setbacks into comebacks. So I think when we are, all of us, we've been through it, we've faced adversity. And I think we come to a point where we know we have two choices. It's either we give up or we rise up. And resilience is all about us rising up. So when I'm talking about this art of turning setbacks into comebacks, that art takes a different approach. So it is a very creative and let's say a intuitive approach instead of just seeing it as maybe black and white. So when I was thinking about this topic, I thought about me in my earlier years and thinking of we look back as children or very young adults and we see ourselves being resilient and facing challenges and getting over them. And it was so interesting for me to think, when was like the first time that I really showed resilience? And if I think today, how many tools and skills I have to overcome obstacles, and I think to maybe a child or a 15-year-old or a 20-year-old, how that person overcome obstacles. And I think the one thing that stood out for me is the fact that I had a goal and I wanted that goal bad enough to really do anything. So that brings me to what makes a person resilient. And I think we always have to have that why, what's the reason, what's our purpose, what is our sort of our mission in life, what are we here to do, what is the impact that we want to make. So any of those, I mean, if that's clear for you, then I think you can be quite resilient. The second thing is that we have to have a growth mindset. So to know that I don't know everything today, but I can figure it out. I'm clever enough to know that I'm resourceful. I can figure anything out. I can do anything. And also then to put yourself in situations that requires you to grow yourself and to get out of your comfort zone. Because if we're going to just sit on the couch and think we're going to be building resilience that way, that's not going to work. So we have to put ourselves in those positions. I mean, obviously life also gives us challenges, but I think we willingly also have to, set goals for ourselves and willingly take on those challenges, because it builds our confidence. Because once we see, I've got evidence that I've done this before, then it's so much easier. And also the things we practice most is going to be the things that we get good at. And I think then also belief is quite a big one, because and it was interesting. I had a conversation with my coach at one point, and I set this big goal for myself. And every week we would talk about this goal. And at some point, I told her that, I don't think this goal, I'm ever going to get to this goal because I don't believe in it. And she said to me that you don't have to believe in a goal 100%. You could believe in it 10 or 20%. But then you know that you believe in it 20% and then start building on that. So every day, increase that 10% by 1%. and just to start building supporting beliefs to that. So maybe I don't believe in my goal 100%, but I know that I can build surrounding beliefs about that goal. About maybe I'm a person that, can figure things out. I'm a fast learner. So that means that I can figure this thing out as well. So those are all, I think, what makes us resilient. And then just a couple of other helpful things that I just wanted to bring up is that around resilience and overcoming challenges is that we shouldn't really expect things to be easy. I think the times when I made a mistake to think that things should be easy, that's the times when maybe I was set a bit back and maybe I lost time. I want to think going into something that I'm expecting it to be hard, and I want to plan for all the obstacles. I also want to not make the failure mean anything about me, because my worthiness is totally separate from maybe reaching this goal. So to make sure that because this email campaign didn't work, it doesn't necessarily mean it's something about me. Doesn't mean I'm not good enough or I'm clever enough to figure it out. And we should separate those two. Also, I think to know what's happening in our mind, our mental and emotional state, know what our mind keeps offering us. If I maybe feel disappointment after I had a failure, not to make it mean too much. Experience the disappointment and then go get curious. So start asking yourself questions about the disappointment. Why am I disappointed? And then you might also then along the way figure out that it isn't this email campaign that didn't work. It's maybe more underlying things like, will I ever be able to reach this goal? And then we just get curious about it and explore it and just ask ourselves questions. This is possible and I can work towards this. So this is what I have time for you today about resilience. I think it's something that can really make us grow. And for all of us that's business owners, I think business is the one thing that brings up all of our stuff to the surface. And it's not necessarily problems in our business a lot of times, but it's just problems up there. So that's what I have. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week.
Thank you very much, Norma. I see there's a few friends that joined us in the meantime. So let me see, where did that go? I did see here very, very briefly. There you go, Kevin. Nice to see you this morning as well, all the way from Malaysia. So good morning, well, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And let me see, we've also got Liana Orange that joined us and say hi. And then there's my friend Des as well. So good morning, everybody. Warm welcome. Right, so next up we have Tanya. And today Tanya is answering or trying to answer the question. I'm not going to say she's going to answer. Let me not put her in a position, but I'm pretty sure she's got some things up her sleeve. And today Tanya is going to talk about whether it is possible to reduce uncertainty. So let's hear what Tanya has to say.
Thank you, Fransha. As always, it's such a pleasure and privilege to be part of the Friday sessions, and a very good morning to everyone joining. Now, since 1952, when Harry Markowitz wrote Portfolio Selection, a groundbreaking paper, so many investment professionals have been taught how to approach portfolio management. And we all know that efficient frontiers, maximizing returns at a given level of risk, matching portfolios with risk tolerance, mean variance optimization models, etc., have been used extensively in the industry. But unfortunately, through cycles, through black swan events, these traditional investment methods were tried and tested and often exposed. So while behavioral theorists often oppose the traditional portfolio managers, it seems that one assumption holds true. No matter which side of the coin you pick, and that is that investors are not rational. Now, to believe that any person has perfect knowledge and information about markets at all times, and that they make optimal decisions and never take too much risk or too little risk, is a bit of a stretch. Now, as part of the CIP document, which we referred to in our previous sessions, the financial planning philosophy and your investment management strategy is very crucial in your FSB's CIP. Now, I want to ask everyone on this call this morning, what is your financial planning philosophy? Do you subscribe to the traditional planning views, or have you ever considered adopting behavioral elements? Now, research seems to favor that this planning philosophy that we now call goals-based financial planning. And this morning, I'd just like to briefly talk to you about exactly what goals-based financial planning means to us and how we define it and how we incorporate it. One aspect of this goals-based planning philosophy that really stands out is that risk management is based on client goals. Have you ever wondered what your client must think when you talk to them about standard deviation or volatility? Do they understand it? Do they know how to measure this? I mean, standard deviation is a description of dispersion of returns, for instance. Value at risk is some calibrated time-specific risk measurement. But when you define risk to your client as the risk of not achieving your investment goal, now you make it personal. Now your client starts to understand risk better. Now, a goals-based approach seems to work as it now reduces the friction between the advisor and his perspective and that of the end client, which is often driven by his own emotions and his own psychological makeup. Now, I know the shortcomings of traditional financial planning could be things like risk measurement, risk profiling, to manage behavioral biases of your clients. And while traditional financial planning have their shortcomings, goals-based planning have the limitations of how do you implement different goals on platforms and on lists and which tools do you use. But more and more research proves that goals-based investing is a very important step towards narrowing the gap between investment principles and the perspectives of the individual investors. Now, I should also ask, and this is where Francois now posed the question, in this world of uncertainty, wouldn't it be great if we could create more certainty for our clients in the investment field? Now, while offering guarantees aren't always, well, in most instances, not even possible, the investment management strategy, which firstly supports a goals-based financial planning approach, and secondly, offers more certainty, more surety, more security, is termed outcomes-based investing. Now, outcomes-based strategies, especially the way that Amity have now managed these for the last 3 years, focuses on risk management objectives. In fact, our 4 investment pillars are to ensure that we deliver a set outcome for the client, enhance and offer consistency, ensure that we can preserve capital against inflation over relevant time periods, and ultimately manage the risk. So, in conclusion, goals-based investing as your financial planning philosophy, combined then with outcomes-based investments as your strategy, your investment management strategy, can improve on your traditional approaches. If you want to assist your client in experiencing financial well-being and offering them more certainty, then the question I posed to you this morning, and hopefully I can spark a conversation, is shouldn't you consider changing the way you manage money? So get in touch with Amity Investment Solutions, where we will share some insights on how to reduce uncertainty with outcomes-based investing. Thank you, Francois.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Really enjoyed that session. So thank you very much. And thanks again to Amity for sponsoring this month's series of episodes. So with that, talking about that, let's do a couple of quick announcements and let's make it quick. So first of all, remember that our friends over at Colombo Coffee, they are sponsoring our giveaway every week. So thank you very much to the team at Colombo Coffee and Tea over in Durban, of all places. So I'm warming up to Durban. I've got some amazing friends and community members over there, and you winning me over, I must just say. So thank you very much to them. If you want to be in the draw at the end of the show today, then #coffee. That's all you need to put in the comments. You can add it to a comment or an opinion or some thoughts that you share, or you can just type #coffee and we will automatically enter you. So if I quickly look at the tool, so far we've got 9 people in the draw. So I know some people joined late. So #coffee, if you put that in the comments, then you will automatically be entered into this draw. We will send a coffee to you, deliver it to your door, and you will have an amazing experience, a multi-sensory experience. So that's promised. Right. So I must change this into a coffee shop. Anyway, so what are the first thing that I want to talk about this morning? So first thing, obviously, Global Financial Planning Conference. Only a week to go to get your tickets. If you haven't got your ticket yet, go get them now. And if you still don't know about Global Financial Planning Conference, what it is about, how amazing it is, the lives it changes, and the impact it has on the profession, well, then you need to watch this.
The Global Financial Planning Conference is back. It's happening on 16 and 17 May. An amazing virtual experience on a global scale that's unique as the speakers we have.
Last year, we had over 1,200 people attend this amazing event from across the globe, specifically from South Africa. We had over 450 people last year. We've got 10-minute slide-free talks, new ideas, thought-provoking ideas. Everybody that's speaking at this conference has gone through the International Speaker and Influencer Program. Every year, it's just blown our minds. And then if you really want to elevate your business, you want to jot down practical, powerful, impactful takeaways, it's 2 days of energy, insights, inspiration, and thought-provoking ideas.
It's absolutely amazing. The momentum has grown year on year. More excitement, more amazing talks coming out. This year, we've also got a day of CPD. We've got an amazing platform, incredible, immersive, interactive experience, inviting all of you.
If you have a team of people, book for them on the website. If you just want to get a ticket for yourself, you're more than welcome to do that as well. 349 Rand. You can get them at propulsion.co.za/GFPC23.
I'm just going to reiterate, if you're a financial planner that wants to elevate your practice and you want to connect with peers and like-minded individuals, this is the place to be. And this is one of the conferences of the year on the calendar, not to miss. We look forward to seeing you there.
See you there. Righty, so go get them. One more week. If I don't see you there, I'm coming looking for you, and I will find you, and I also have Liam Neeson connected with me on LinkedIn, so we will find you. So with that, the other thing I wanted to talk about this week, we continued our program on financial planning tools and techniques, and Steve Martin returned, and we spoke about deepening the conversation, which was, again, an incredible hour spent together with the community over in Propulsion, and a lot of value that came from that. Next week, Steve is back, and then we do the last module of the program, where we're going to look at how to elegantly pivot into the practicalities of these conversations and meetings with clients. So really looking forward to that, which will bring that program to a close. And so if you do want to get access to that and you do want to be part of that, then go look at Propulsion, which is the community that we have for financial planning professionals. Right. So then also just on that note, if you do visit the website, whether you're an existing member or not, go check out the testimonials from some of our members. They really fantastic. Like they just, it wasn't scripted or anything like that. It is just, they're sharing their experience and why they're part of it, what stands out for them. So there's some written stuff and there's some videos and all sorts of things. So there's short versions and the full versions are also on the site. So you're welcome to go and check that out to see what this is about and if maybe this will be a good fit for you. Then lastly, just as far as announcements are concerned, we've got quite a few guests coming up over the next few weeks. So next week we have Marius van der Merwe from Amity, and we're going to delve a lot deeper into certain things that we are building sort of on the previous conversations. Then we have Stephen Hanley from Australia, and we're going to talk everything about CRM. So really looking forward to that session. So that's on the 19th. And then on the 26th, we have Hugo van Zyl, which in my mind is the guy, So I was so happy when Leilani mentioned the article that he wrote about these changes and things, because that's the one guy that I trust. Like everybody else, it feels to me like sometimes, they look at things from a different perspective, a different angle, and they're trying to see where's the business angle here. Whereas Hugo is the straight on, this is how it is, this is good, this is bad. And he's also not afraid to take people on when he disagrees with them. So that's the one thing that I really enjoy about Hugo. And Hugo will be back. You would have seen him in previous seasons, previous episodes. He is our resident tax guy, specifically when it comes to cross-border tax and immigration and all of those good things. So looking forward to having him here on the 26th. And then the week thereafter, we are launching a new series, which I'm not going to tell you anything about today. Next week, I will launch that. But we're launching a series every first Friday of the month. We're going to have this series, and I'm going to be interviewing some amazing people during those. It's going to be little panel discussions every single first Friday right up until November. So really looking forward to that, but I'll tell you more about that next week. If you get value, and, we sort of can't do this unless people support us. So I don't want money. All I want is your sort of click that subscribe button if you haven't yet. And if this video is helpful to you, or this content today is helpful to you, and then please hit the like button, share this with others, and help us get the word out there. So we will really appreciate it if you can like and subscribe. And we really appreciate the support. Right, so then before I get into today's show, just a short little word from our sponsor, which is Amity Investment Solutions. There's some episodes that I get very, very excited about, and hopefully you can see it in my energy and you can hear it in my voice, that today's episode is one of those. And I'm just excited to share with you today around my thoughts around this. And these 5 building blocks are essential for financial planning business, but also for any kind of professional business or any kind of small business, I would say. And this is sometimes where we go wrong and where we miss out on the opportunities to build a great business. And before we know it, we find ourselves in this malamela, like you are just a little hamster on a wheel and the wheel is running you, you're not running the wheel, and you know what I'm talking about. So if that is that, and just by the way, these 5 building blocks are essential for bigger businesses as well. But I think specifically, if we think about small business, this is where we need to grow it right from the start. These are the things we should be thinking about, looking at, reflecting on, working on. Let me not say all of the time, because there's not enough time for most of us, right? But definitely on an ongoing basis. So at least, every time you put time out to work on your business, those helicopter days, these are the 5 elements that you should be considering. And I want to talk about each of those. I even got a graphic today, so to help you make it easier for you to follow what I'm saying. And so let's get into this. Now, it is very important that obviously if you're in any kind of business, if you just listen to what Leilani was saying earlier, with the increase in food prices. And it's not only food prices, it's everything is just going up and up and up and up. And if, like me, you use a lot of overseas software, for example, those costs are just going up, not because they put the prices up, but because of the currency devaluating. So there's a lot of things that we can't control. So hence, if you're only maintaining your business, if you grew it and now you're happy and that's where you are, you're slowly moving backwards and maybe faster than what you think you are. So building a business where there's continued growth and it's sustainable growth and sort of effortless growth at some point. I've shared this before on the show about the story that Zig Ziglar was talking about, the story of the pump. If you go back many, many years on the farms, if you wanted water, there was this little pump that you needed to pump. And, sort of when you first need to get it out, you go click, 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 and you need to pump and you get tired and you're like, there's no water coming out. But the thing is, when you stop, then the water goes down all the way and you don't even know where the water was. But the moment you keep pumping and that water starts coming out, it becomes a slow, rhythmic tick, 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 and the water just keeps going. So that's the thing with any business. There's a lot of hard work and effort that needs to be invested up front. And it sort of feels to me like that's the principle of life. It doesn't even matter what you start or what you do. That amount of effort, there's always a large amount of effort. If you think about a Boeing taking off, I think I mentioned this the other day as well, it uses like 60% of its fuel just for takeoff. But it can then go around the world with the rest of the fuel. So it's incredible to think about that. And that's what it is for business. When you implement new technology, when you learn anything new, when you work on new relationships, all that stuff requires a lot of effort up front. And then over time, it requires reduced effort. It doesn't stop. You still need to fill that plane up with fuel at some point. So you do need to keep going. But that's why it's so important to keep growing our businesses and to do it in a sustainable fashion. Now, if you put these 5 building blocks into place and you keep working on them, you keep making them better, right? It's not to say, oh, take this one out, put this one in. It's literally about how can we do it better and better and better. It's not always about reinventing the wheel. So that's very, very important. So if you want to have a successful business, you want to have a successful practice, then these 5 building blocks are quite essential. Now, the other thing that these 5 building blocks makes possible is long-term sustainable growth. So it is about growing. It is about doing so sustainably, but it is about doing so over the long term. And that's quite an important thing. So with that, let me sort of get into this. And the very first building block that I want to talk about today is, let me just see, where's this one? There you go. So the value proposition is the first one, right? Without a proposition, without value that you can create, what are you going to deliver to the client? Who do you even know who you're doing that for? What problem are you solving? And I think often, I was looking at, because I follow quite a few advisors, well, quite a number of advisors, not only on LinkedIn, but Instagram and places like that. And I always take careful note of what they're posting, how they're positioning themselves, what are they saying? What are they saying to clients? What advice they're giving? And there's a couple that really stood out for me, over the last 2 weeks or so. And it's not because it looks great and they do a phenomenal job in that. But the things they focus on is still the product. There's one person who's really just, going out the world and saying, this is financial advice, but all they're talking about is how does the product work? So I think they're still missing the point to a large degree. Then there's others like, this is what we do for our clients. These are the problems we solve. And then they go estate planning, risk planning, medical aid, blah, 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 blah. Those are not problems. Those are products. And that's the thing that we need to start focusing on with our value propositions to say, what problems are we solving? And the thing that you need to sell is that problem, not the product that you implement, not the advice that you give, not the guidance that you give. It is, what is that problem? And unless we're very clear on that, we can't have a clear value proposition. The other thing we need to be very clear on there is obviously, who do we do it for? So who has these problems? How significant is the impact of these problems? And then how do we go about solving them? Because unless Leilani knows that I'm talking to her, how is Leilani going to know that she's the one with the problem? So I've got to be very, very clear. Leilani, I'm not saying you have a problem, but it's definitely something that, you need to be talking to those people. They need to clearly hear you. Because I'm pretty sure when I said Leilani looked up, I don't know if she's driving back or I see her down here, but she's, she definitely took notice because I spoke to her. If I go, Mr. Frank Agliotti, immediately you're going to hear and take note because you heard your name. And that's the premise of, when we ask, who do we help? Who do we work with? We've got to be very, very clear on that part. And these things play through. I had quite an interesting conversation with a friend of mine around just what needs to go on my website. All of these things are absolutely essential to do all the other things in your business. And when we look at the next step or the next building block, you'll see exactly that you can't do any of the other things unless you're very, very clear on this. And there's sort of 2 approaches to this, right? There's something that you can do on your own, but you shouldn't be doing all of this on your own. If you have a team, or even if you just have resources available to you, do the stuff on your own, come up with a value proposition, write down what you think it is that you do and who you do it for and the problems that you solve, right? And what makes it unique. But then also work with your team. And then say, right, guys, so what do you think? What do we do? And it's not to say, look, guys, this is what I did, so let's look at that and let's work with that. you do the two completely separate. So there's work that you do on your own because you have the vision, you know what it's all about, but also your team has a very different perspective. And as I said, even if you don't have a team, maybe you can involve other people. So something that we recently did, and I'm very excited for this, is we started a client advisory board for PROpulsion so that we can get advice from our clients and our members, and this is something that I think is going to go a long way in helping us really upping the game and doing things better and really honing that value proposition. So you need to do exactly the same in your practice. This is not an alone game. It's not something you should just be doing on your own. I think often we feel like that, but that's not the thing. So the first one there, as I said, is the value proposition. So very, very important, and definitely something that is needed from that point. Now, the other thing that's part of value proposition that maybe we don't think about and maybe we don't consider as being part of this is, one, you need a high-performing team as part of your value proposition. Isn't that part of the value proposition? And we spoke about remote teams the other day. I'm going to talk about other forms of teams in the near future. But then also, what about our abilities and skills with regards to emotional intelligence? How we can be empathetic to our clients and with our clients, and how do we connect and all of those kind of things. And then the other very important part of this, and there are some people that I see are very vocal about this, and they're very proud of this, and it's exactly how it should be. I think more of us needs to be like that, is the ethical standards that we uphold in our business. Isn't that part of the value proposition? In our client meeting skills program on PROpulsion, we speak about how do you take all these things that regulation says, oh, you must do this. And I go to the client and say, oh, Mrs. Client, please, you need to sign this because I have to do this for my compliance. And that's what we do. We make this thing we have to do. I don't really want to do it. If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't do it. Instead of taking something like that and turning it into a benefit for the client. So in that program, we actually teach everyone how to do that. That's exactly the same thing with ethics. It is an asset in your business. It is part of your value proposition, because as you've seen recently in the news, that not everybody does that. So it's very, very important. And the moment that you put this out there and you profess this, then you stick to it as well. Very, very important. Alrighty. So what is the next building block there? Let me step off the value proposition. I hope that gives you some more ideas. But the very next thing, the very next thing that we need to do, like once we have this amazing value proposition, we know who we help, we know what problems they have, we can showcase that we are able to solve these problems, and we've done so successfully in the past. Maybe we do it ethically, we really connect with you, we care about you, you put you first, all of that kind of stuff you've got in your value proposition. That means nothing unless the world knows about it, right? So the next building block, and I've spoken about a couple of these in these last few episodes as well, is marketing. So it is really getting the word out there. And I think as a financial planning profession and community, we can definitely do better with our marketing. And we need to be clear that what we need to market, again, is not the products we sell. It's not the number of contracts we have. It's not who we're associated with. It's maybe part of it. But it's really marketing your value proposition, being clearly communicating to your client exactly who I am, who we help, and who we do. And you should be shouting that from the rooftops to those people. Nobody else. It doesn't even matter what anybody else says. And then the other part when it comes to marketing, this is something that I'm very, very passionate about, is often in the bigger scheme of things, we will see something that somebody did that's not ethical and that's wrong. And we want to look at them like, oh, this is why we have such a bad name and all this and all that. No, that is the biggest opportunity to go, like, you know what, at our firm, we proudly do X, Y, Z, and we proudly help X, Y, Z. That's an opportunity to show how different you are from those that don't do it right. We can help people understand what is the difference between the two without showing like, look at all the things that they did wrong. But by focusing on the things that we do amazingly well, that makes a big difference. So that should be the way that we should be marketing from that perspective. So I don't know, sort of in your view, how do you feel about marketing? You're welcome to share in the comments. Is it something that you're comfortable with? Is it something that you struggle with? And maybe if you're comfortable, what form of marketing do you use mostly? Because there's all these different ways, obviously. And I think what is very important is that today, and it's never too late for this, is to have your proper digital strategy. Because I still think that if I ask, what is your main source of clients? How do you market yourself? No, I don't market myself. Word of mouth. Word of mouth is the biggest thing. And it's true because it's still powerful. But word of mouth not only happens in person anymore. Word of mouth actually happens online, where people write reviews about you, where people share stories about you, where we can find you online and we can read it, what it is that you do. There's a whole host of other things. And then the personal brand. There's one thing that's very, very important. There's the business and here's you, right? And people are very interested in who's behind the business. Unless this is a big corporate conglomerate where they don't know who started this 100 years ago, they care about who's the person behind this business. Because remember, inherently, there is a bigger risk in doing business with a small business than it is with a bigger business. Although the experience with a small business is often so much better than that of a big business or that with a big business. But people will look at those two things and think about, what do I need to do? Do I go with Francois, the small guy, or do I go with this big corporate who's a logo? But at least I know they're not going anywhere. So those are the kind of things that we compete with. So unless you have a very strong personal brand, then you may find it a little bit more difficult than the person who do. So those things, don't neglect those. Those are very, very powerful. So social media is definitely a big thing. And very interesting, I did a poll in the week sort of asking about on LinkedIn. I said, excluding LinkedIn, because it feels to me like, and if you think about in South Africa, I think Razan shared the other day, only 1% of South Africans are on LinkedIn, which is crazy. There's so many of us, but it's only 1%. And then I asked them, like, if LinkedIn was to go away or excluding LinkedIn, what is your primary social media network where you spend time? And we got almost 75 votes on that. So there's quite a significant number. But 48% of them said Facebook. Like, I was blown away, right? Almost nobody on TikTok. And a few people on Twitter, which I understand. I also don't want to be on Twitter. And then, so Facebook is 48%, then Instagram, then Twitter, and then TikTok at the moment, from a financial advisor point of view. Now, when you start looking at where your clients are at, you may get a very, very different view. So for me, that's interesting because my clients are financial advisors. But for you, it's your clients. So maybe for you, when you start asking your client base, like, what is your primary social media platform? You may find that everybody's on TikTok and you're not there, right? Because you said you're one of the 4% who said you are on TikTok. So some of the things that we need to start thinking about. And even if you're not comfortable being on TikTok, then find somebody in your business who is, you can't not be there. Right. So I'm going to step off marketing because we're going to take up all the time with that. But you can see there's loads to talk about in that sense and loads to do to get the word out there. Now, again, the other big problem is, if I step off marketing, is that it's all great that I've got a great proposition. I'm telling the world about it. But you know what humans do. Tanya was talking about behavior. What do? Nothing. They do absolutely nothing. So we need to convince them to do something, right? So sales is inevitably the next building block. You've got to be very good at selling what it is that you're communicating to everybody. In other words, it is making sure that the person that wants you to help them or that you want to help is a good fit, right? Make sure that you can actually help them and then help them to take the next step. Right? So this is not about, oh, you need a policy, oh, you need this, oh, you need that. It's not that. It's not the traditional sense of sales. I saw a little video clip this morning, actually, that somebody was saying, oh, I've got this closing line and it never fails me. And then they're like, oh, the reason you're not going to buy is because of one of these 3 reasons. And then those days are long gone. If you still sell like that, then you're a dying breed, to be honest. There's a much better ways. And I think sales have evolved as financial planning is evolving from an industry slowly but surely to a profession. And we've stepped off of product onto financial planning, onto the human side of money. We evolve, so is selling. So there's a much better way to connect with people from that point. And it's all about being a guide to people who's a good fit and that you can then help to take the next steps that they need to take for the right reason with the right intention. So that is where sales is so important from that point. Now, if you really want to be good at selling, right, there's a couple of things that you obviously need. The one thing is that you need to be able to really listen well. Now, that's what we've been doing in the program on PROpulsion over the last 3 weeks, is all about listening. It was all about asking great questions. It was all about really engaging and connecting with the client and understanding where they're coming from and focusing on them and what they need and not what we want. So that's quite an interesting conversation. So you've got to be very good at asking the right questions, specifically open questions, so that a person can, you leave it to them. You maybe ask one question in a meeting and they talk for the rest of the meeting. But those are all part of selling, but it's also part of connecting. It's part of everything that you do. So it's not just that. So we need to step away from this negative connotation with selling. It's not that anymore. So there is a great way to do this. And you need to know what your process is if you want to do this effectively. And keen to hear what you think about that. So you're welcome to share in the comments, and we'll hopefully, and remember #coffee if you want to come into play with that lucky draw. I think, the days of, I don't know, I'm not the kind of person who wants to negotiate with anybody. I'm not there to really convince anybody of anything. Here's what we do. If I can make sure that I understand 100% what it is that you're after and what you need, then that'll be great. And then we'll do business. So if we can't find that, then we won't do business. But I'm not in the game of convincing you of how much you need this. And if you want to go from here to there and that's the results you want, then I'm the person that can help you. And this is what we do. And that's how much it's worth. Like, I don't know. I don't do it that way. Now, that is still a way to get people to take action, because people are still very focused on pricing, etc. Instead of saying, well, I want to, I'm here, I want to get there, but I also don't want to pay what it's going to cost me to get me there. So I'm not playing that game anymore. It's an open, honest relationship. So I base my sales on relationships and understanding and being open and honest and truthful about things. And then we'll do business or we won't. And, so you need to find your unique way of doing this, and you will definitely be successful. Right. So then the next building block, which is probably the most important one of the lot, although the last one that I'll talk about is so essential to be able to do all of this well, and so that the amazing wheel of sustainability and growth can continue. But the next one is then client experience. Now, client experience is a very, very important building block. This is where everything becomes tangible. This is where you really have certain feelings and emotions and things. We've spoken about this a lot on the show as well. So I don't want to get too much into detail there, but it is really like, if I understand the needs of the client, I understand their expectations, we've managed and set the expectations, and in many cases I can exceed those expectations, then the client will invariably have a good experience. And when people have good experiences, what do? They typically tell others about it. So that's so important. And two of the things, I'm going to share two things. There's many other things to client experience, but client experience starts the moment the onboarding experience, well, actually a little bit before that. But really think about prospecting and having first meetings. It's all part of the onboarding process. It's just not to say that you'll finish the onboarding process if it's not a good fit, but it's still all part of your onboarding process. So that's where it starts. So unless you have a fantastic, slick, mind-blowing onboarding experience for your client, and when last did you look at this? Specifically now that you don't do these things, I remember fondly, Cobus, when I visited you at your office, when you still had an office, like this amazing, here's a menu of things, they guided me right into my parking space. I was greeted very warmly and friendly, and people were immediately looking after me and making me feel special, even though I wasn't even a client of Coetzee. So that's the kind of stuff that we used to be able to do. Now, if you pivoted to being virtual, how are you doing that virtually? What experience are you creating? Or are you just like, here's your Teams meeting, we'll meet at that time, hello, how are you, boom, 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 we go through the motions and let's just move on? Or have you really sat down and thought about what is the new experience that I'm creating around this from a virtual perspective? So just very, very important. And somewhere I'm going to talk very soon about also this whole virtual versus in-person thing as well. So I've got some thoughts on that. But those are the kind of things that are very important. So first is your onboarding process. That's the first part where you start creating a great client experience. The second one, obviously, for me, it's sort of a no-brainer, but it's one of the hardest things to do, is great communication, effective communication, proactive communication. So how do we communicate with a client in the way that they want to be communicated with? Are we proactive or are we reactive? So those are the two things, make it a great experience, welcome me in a great way, and then communicate with me. It's two very simple concepts, but two things that are quite hard to get right, well properly. Other parts of this, I'm not going to get into this, but you can, use your reviews and obtain feedback and things to make this better and better and better for existing and future clients. But that's all the stuff as far as a good client experience is concerned. Right, then the building block that brings all of this together, because you can have a great proposition, right? You can have a great marketing spiel. You can tell the world can know about you. You can even get them to meet with you and take action and become a client. You can create a great client experience. But unless you have this final piece of the puzzle, things are going to fall flat, things are going to go awry. And probably this is one of the areas where we have most of our challenges, and that is the operational efficiency that we need in order to do this well. All right, so if we talk about operational efficiency, what are we talking about? Well, it's really about streamlining your back office operations. So making sure that you have the right technology, the right systems, the right processes, the right people that are able to help you, that you're outsourcing the things that's not core to your business. Because that's the thing, the smaller the business, the more things you should be outsourcing to other people that are not core to your business, like building your website, like maybe managing and running your social media. And yes, these things cost money, but it's an investment because you get so much time back so that you can focus on the things that generate income and the opportunities that come off the back of all of these amazing things that you are doing. So very important that we look at operational efficiency from that point. And then you can also look at productivity, which means like how much do we get done in a day, basically, or in an hour or whatever. Now, with that, I'm not saying you should be running like a factory and sort of measuring everything to the T, but definitely something. Last week we spoke about some amazing measures that you can track in order to make sure that you're delivering on what's important to the client instead of what's important to us, probably. So it is important. The other thing is like, what is our method and our philosophy for prioritizing anything in our business? What comes before the other thing? Because often you speak to a business owner and they will say everything is important. Everything, all of the stuff must, yeah, true, they must get done, but not everything. Now, there's one thing that's going to make the biggest difference to your business, and that's the thing we should do first. Maybe when it comes to a client, what is the one thing that if we do that, it moves you forward more significantly than any of the other things that we can do? So that's the thing that we need to do first. So to just briefly summarize the building blocks again, is that the value proposition, right? Very important. Be able to tell the world about it, do fantastic marketing, speak to the right people, have a sales process and a sales methodology that is complementing to everything else that you do and that works for you. Create an amazing, amazing client experience and be operationally efficient. And part of operational efficiency, by the way, is absolutely about managing your finances well as well. Without that, your business is going to struggle and you're not going to ever have money to invest into the other four investment blocks. So really excited that I hope this makes a big difference in your world and that this gives you some new things to go and focus on. Go write down a little bit about your business in each one of these 5 blocks and see where you are and use that as a starting point. Alrighty, so with that, let's do the lucky draw. And as we said before, this is the, let me just go there, oops, not that one. So I just want to add this one to the stream. There we go. So hashtag coffee. If you haven't put your hashtag in the comments yet, you can do so. Hashtag coffee. We have, what is that, 17? It looks like, let me just go to the bigger screen, 17 people that have entered the draw. So thank you very, very much. Really appreciate that. Thank you for all the comments and everything. As I said before, please like and subscribe. If you got value from this, tell others about it and go check out our other episodes that's available here on YouTube as well. So with that, let's do the lucky draw and let's see who today's lucky winner is of the coffee. And here we go. And this is completely automated, completely random. This is a tool that is managed somewhere in the world by StreamYard. So let's see what happens. And here we go. So who will it be this morning? And let's see. Oh, look at that. So, Tanya, well done. So you're getting coffee. I think after this morning, you also need some coffee. So it is a good one. And congratulations. Happy for you. So I will send you a little video and things just now. And happiness. So ladies and gentlemen, next week we are back. And really looking forward to that. My guest next week is Marius van der Merwe from Amity. And we're going to dig deeper into how we can reduce uncertainty through the use of outcomes-based investing. And we're really going to dig a lot deeper into that topic and build on what Tanya was talking about this morning. So we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Go get your tickets for Global Financial Planning Conference. And we will see you. Stay safe, be blessed and prosper, and continue to raise the bar. Love you. Bye-bye.